You just accepted an offer on your home. Congratulations, but now what? So most sellers think the hard part is over once they get an offer, but the truth is the hard part is just starting. Between the accepted offer and the day you hand over the keys, there are at least 7 major steps, multiple deadlines, and about a dozen things on the low side that can go sideways. I'm going to walk you through the entire New York City closing process step by step so you know exactly what's coming and exactly how to handle it. I'm Joseph Ranola with the Bridge and Boro Team at Real Broker. I sell homes in Staten Island, Brooklyn, beyond. I've guided sellers through this process over and over and over again, and I love doing it. We have over 80 5-star Google reviews, and one of the reasons people say they trust us is because we explain everything before it happens. There are no surprises. So here's the thing. New York City's closing process is different from almost every other state. We have attorney review, we have transfer taxes that are higher than the national average. If you're selling a co-op, you have a board approval process that can add weeks, months to your timeline, and then if it falls through, it restarts the whole process all over again. Average closing takes 60 to 90 days for houses and condos, 90 to 120 days for co-ops. 2 to 4 months after you've accepted this offer. So think of that. That's 2 to 4 months of hurdles, mind changes, things that can go wrong, all these things that we're just floating, waiting. So if nobody tells you what's coming, those final months feel like chaos. If somebody lays it out step by step, it feels a little bit more manageable. And that's what this video is. That's what I'm attempting to do for you. I want you to be able to understand step by step, month by month, what's going on as we're kind of just sitting around and waiting. Now, before we get into it, I put together a free closing process checklist that covers every single step, every deadline, and every document that you will need as a seller. It's 1 page, it's printable. You could tape it to your fridge and check things off as they happen. I'll give it to you when we meet if you work together with me. Again, the whole thing is I just want you to know where you're at, where you're going, what we already did. The link is in the description below, or go to ranolarealestate.com. You can download it now so you can follow along with the video. Step 1, attorney review period. New York is one of the few states where buyers and sellers are expected to hire a real estate attorney. They both have to have their own. It's not optional. In New York City, your attorney is the one who actually drafts and negotiates the contract of sale. Your real estate agent handles the marketing, the showings, the negotiation on price and terms, and then the attorneys are taking over for that legal side. So once you accept an offer, both attorneys get roughly 3 business days to review those contract terms. During this period, they negotiate things like the closing date, what stays with the property, repair credits, any special conditions. So here's the important part. During attorney review, either side can still walk away for any reason. No penalty, no deposit loss, nothing is legally binding until both parties sign that contract. So if the buyer's attorney finds something they don't like, or the buyer just gets cold feet, the deal can fall apart right here. I've seen plenty of deals die in attorney review because of a disagreement over a $500 repair. I've also seen deals sail through in 24 hours. The key is having an attorney who is responsive. Please have your attorney be responsive or don't use them, and experienced with New York City residential transactions. If you need a recommendation, I have a short list of attorneys that I trust. Just ask. Step 2 is contract signing and the deposit. So once both attorneys agree on terms, both sides sign the contract. The buyer will come, they'll sign first, they'll leave their deposit, then you will be called in to sign, and then we are fully signed. We're legally binded to sell that property. They're legally binded to legally bound to purchase it. The buyer is going to leave a deposit. Could be a multitude of different numbers in New York City, New York State, but figure 5% of the purchase price. That's a pretty fair number. Let's just say we'll put that into real numbers. If your Staten Island home is under contract for $750,000, the buyer is putting down $75,000 into escrow, right? On a Brooklyn condo at 1.2 million, maybe that's $120,000. Now that money is going to sit in the attorney's escrow account until closing. So this protects you as the seller. If the buyer defaults after all contingencies have been satisfied, you generally have the right to keep that deposit as damages. It's a powerful incentive for the buyer to follow through. Now, I should mention that the deposit amount is negotiable. Like I said, it could be 10%. I've seen deals with 5%. I've seen deals with 20,000. Where it's not actually a percentage, but just a straight 10, 20,000, 50,000. This is something that we will review when the offers come in, and it will have a weight on what we end up choosing. Okay, step 3 is the buyer's home inspection. So now this is actually typically going to happen prior to signing contracts. In somewhere like New Jersey, they're going to sign contracts immediately. Then you'll get your home inspection done. It's not the case here in New York. The buyer will order the home inspection during that attorney review period. So once we have an accepted offer, they're going to hire a licensed inspector who will spend 2 to 4 hours going through your entire property, usually closer to 2 hours. They're going to check foundation, roof, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, all the main things. Nothing cosmetic, right? They're not concerned that you got a scratch on the wall or that doesn't matter. They're looking for the root causes of big issues in your home. So as a seller, don't panic when that inspection report comes back. Every home has issues. New construction properties have issues. Every single one of them. A 20-page inspection report on a 50-year-old Staten Island or Brooklyn colonial is completely normal. The question is whether there's major defects, things like a failing foundation, active water intrusion, outdated electrical panel, minor stuff like a dripping faucet, cracked outlet cover. It's not usually going to derail a deal. Pro tip, before you even list your home, I always recommend getting a pre-listing inspection. That way, you know what the buyer is going to find and we can fix it on your terms, your prices. There's no surprises. And it doesn't even come up. It's not even an issue. For co-ops and condos, the inspection is simpler because you're only responsible for your unit, right? Not the building's common areas, not the roof, nothing like that, typically. But buyers still inspect the unit for things like windows, appliances, plumbing within the walls, right? Now, step 4, the mortgage contingency and appraisal. If your buyer is financing the purchase, the contract will include a mortgage contingency. This gives the buyer a set window, 30, 45, 60 days to secure their loan. If they cannot get approved, the contingency lets them back out and get their deposit returned. Now, during this period, the buyer's lender will order an appraisal. An appraiser physically visits your home and determines what it's worth based on comparable sales in the area. This is where things can get tricky. If the appraisal comes in at or above the contract price, great, everyone moves forward, we're all good to go. If it comes in low, there's a problem. The bank will only lend based on the appraised value, not the contract price. So if your home is under contract for $800,000, but the appraisal says $770,000, there's a $30,000 gap. So at that point, one of 3 things happens. The buyer covers the difference in cash, you and the buyer negotiate a lower price, or the deal falls apart. A strong agent can often challenge a low appraisal by providing additional comps that the appraiser may have missed. I've done this successfully more than once. I saved my buyer, in that case, 10, 20, 15,000. I've saved my sellers from the headache. So this does happen, and we do work on it. But if you have a cash buyer, you can skip this entire step. There's no mortgage contingency. There's no appraisal required. That's another reason that cash offers are attractive to sellers. You just don't have that third party involved, which is just, another way that a deal can fall apart. Step 5 is title search and title insurance. The buyer's attorney will order a title search, which is basically a deep dive into the public records on your property. They're looking for liens, judgments, easements, boundary disputes, ownership issues that could affect the sale. Common issues I see, Staten Island and Brooklyn, old contractor liens that were never cleared, tax liens from a previous owner, estate issues where the deed was never properly transferred after someone passed away. These things can be resolved, but they take time, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. New York City is very slow to move. Title insurance protects the buyer and the lender against anything the title search missed. The buyer pays for it, but as the seller, you need to make sure that your title is clean. Your attorney is going to handle this, but if there are issues, expect back and forth. When the title is not clear, there is always going to be some sort of issue. Everything will be delayed. It's a guarantee. Step 6, and this one only applies if you're selling a co-op, the board approval process. If you're selling a co-op in Brooklyn, Staten Island, Manhattan, the buyer has to be approved by the building's board of directors. This is an entire separate process on top of everything else. The buyer submits a board package, which typically includes financial statements, tax returns, bank statements, reference letters, employment verification, sometimes a personal letter about why they want to live in the building. Some buildings also require an in-person interview. The board reviews the package, which could take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and they can reject the buyer for almost any reason as long as it's not discriminatory under fair housing laws. If they reject the buyer, you start the process all over again with a brand new buyer. This is the #1 reason co-op closings take longer. If you're selling a co-op, make sure that your agent knows how to prepare buyers for the board process. A weak board package wastes everyone's time. Now, step 7, the closing table. Congratulations, this is it. In New York City, the closing is typically going to happen at the buyer's attorney's office, sometimes at the title company, sometimes at the seller's attorney's office. As the seller, here's what you need to bring. Government issued photo ID, your keys, garage door openers, alarm codes, anything like that we'll go over, and your attorney. Your attorney will have already coordinated with the buyer's attorney on the closing statement, which is the final accounting of every dollar in the deal, the purchase price, your mortgage payoff, transfer taxes, attorney fees, agent commissions, varies, negotiable, and any credits or adjustments. Here's how closing day actually works. The buyer signs a mountain of paperwork, mostly loan documents. You sign the deed transferring ownership. The buyer's lender wires the funds. Your existing mortgage gets paid off. The remaining proceeds get wired to your bank account, usually within 24 to 48 hours after closing. Now, one thing people don't realize, closing day itself is usually pretty quick for the seller. It could be an hour. The buyer is the one signing for 2 hours. You sign the deed, hand over the keys, and that's it. You've sold your home. Congratulations. Now, let's talk about the things that can delay or kill a deal, because I want you to be prepared. And I know we've briefly touched on them in the above points, but I wanted to just dedicate a quick little summary as to what could go wrong. And these things do go wrong. Number one, financing falls through. The buyer loses their job, takes on new debt, the lender finds something in underwriting. This happens more than you would think. A strong pre-approval from a reputable lender reduces this risk, and that's something that I check before we accept any offer. I will call that mortgage broker and double check with everything, they're good to go, etc. Number two is low appraisal. Like we mentioned earlier, if the numbers don't work, the deal stalls. Number three, title issues. This happens very commonly. Old liens, boundary disputes, missing paperwork. These can be fixed. It's going to slow things down. You may have to leave money in escrow if you want to keep this deal on track. Number four is inspection surprises. A major structural issue or environmental concern like mold, asbestos, it can send a buyer running. Number five, co-op board rejection. If you're in a co-op, this is always a risk. I've seen boards reject buyers over very trivial things. The best defense against all of this is preparation. Price your home right so the appraisal is not a stretch. Get a pre-listing inspection so there are no surprises. Have your attorney review your title early, and work with an agent who vets buyers before you accept an offer. And that's what I do on every single listing. So my biggest piece of advice for the closing process, stay organized, stay in communication. Your agent and your attorney are your team. We handle the heavy lifting, but you need to be responsive. You need to be diligent. When your attorney emails you a document to review, review it that day, right? When your agent asks you to schedule a time for the appraiser to come through, we can't wait a week. We have to get that done. You have to let me know, I'll get it done, but we can't like dilly-dally and kind of wait around, because that's how deals die. Time is of the essence. The deals that close on time are the deals where everyone worked together as a team and is responsive. The deals that drag on are the one where someone goes quiet for 3 days, 5 days, there's no answer, there's no nothing, and everything's just sitting, nothing's happening. Keep a folder, physical or digital, with every document related to your sale, contract, mortgage payoff statement, inspection report, closing statement. Having everything in one place saves you headaches, and I help with that as well. And download that free checklist I mentioned at the beginning. It's at ranolarealestate.com or down below in the pinned comment. Every step, every deadline, it's on one page. As always, if you're thinking about selling your home, Staten Island, Brooklyn, any of the boroughs in New York City, if you want an agent who walks you through every step of this process above, not just the listing, but the entire closing, let's talk. And if this video helped you understand the closing process, hit subscribe. I put out new New York City real estate content every week. If you know someone who's about to sell their home, send them this video. I will save them a lot of stress, and it's far beyond this video. I will help every facet of the deal from start to absolute finish. I'm Joseph Ranola. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.